Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. Um, I'm excited to start this journey. It's been a long time coming, uh, 20 plus years. Um, we're gonna get into the basics of the channel. Something I like to do is talk about, why I'm doing this, for what reason. Um, And then, unless, we get carried away, we're not going to get into a message on this video. Try to keep it kind of short, just as an intro to the channel. I did some model car stuff, and, it worked out really good to have in-term videos, I guess you could call it, to where you're just talking about what the channel's for, what it's focused on, and where the channel's going to go. And so that's what this is. This is the first video of the Wandering Minister, the 1 in 99. We're going to get into that mouthful of a title. Definitely going to talk about that because that's my story. Really, that's my testimony. And I don't think there's any other way to approach serving the Lord than through your heart, speaking how you feel, speaking, just straight to God's people through what has affected you in life. Your struggles, being transparent. Nobody wants a fake person. A lot of people put on a facade. Yeah, that's a big word for me. I'm from the country, so but a lot of people put on a facade. They're just like, hey, nothing affects me. I serve the Lord. I'm amazing. I don't sin. You know, um, we live in a world, we're surrounded, practically drowned by sin. Um, and Paul himself, in his day, he literally said, I die daily. He said, in other words, I kill the flesh. The flesh says, I want to do this sin. And he says, no, you cannot. So he literally had to tell himself, no, he had to kill the desires of the flesh every day. So it was hard in his day. So you imagine Paul, who was a persecutor of Christians, literally murdered thousands that were pursuing Jesus, and then got to a point to where God said, "That's enough. You are not doing your purpose." And in his eyes, and his name was Saul, he converted to Paul. Um, in his eyes, as Saul, he was serving the Lord. He was working for the church. He was like, send me. I'll take care of these followers of the way, which, was the old, what Christianity was called way back in the day when Jesus first led it. And he went out, he found them, and he killed them. Like, if you were a Christian, if you were following the way, then Paul, Saul found you and took care of you. And that was the end of it. So to come from someone who had such a checkered past, as they would say, he wrote most of the New Testament and, is a huge factor in, I know, in my walk with the Lord, because I feel a lot of times like Paul. Not that I could ever walk in his shoes. He was an amazing, amazing prophet. But I feel a lot of times like I've wandered, and that's where, I made the name for this ministry, the Wandering Minister, because, getting into my story, and the name of the channel, when I was 8 years old, I got saved. I accepted the Lord as my Savior, and man, it was an amazing time. I loved it. I was so open to literally doing nothing but serving God. That's all I wanted to do. That's literally all I wanted to do. And I even asked my stepdad, I was like, why we gotta do all this? Why we gotta do all that? Why can't we just serve God? And he was like, there's rules, we have to live by the laws of the land. We have to work to earn our, an income. We have to take care of our families. You can't just serve the Lord. And, I was like, as a kid, and it wasn't that I wanted to be lazy. It was literally all I wanted to do is live for God. I had a fire in me then. And my stepdad told me, as one of many, he was the first, but he was one of many that told me and said, "You have a calling on your life." And I was like, "What does that mean?" And he was like, "God's got something for you. God's got um, a calling for your life to, be in the ministry." He didn't really express it that way, but he pretty much said, "God's got a calling on your life." And I was like, I don't know what that meant. So, I tried to pursue the Lord, and I have a very direct way of looking at things. And so when I looked at it, I was like, hey, if you show me something, then if I see it, I'll believe it. And so as I was living for the Lord as a child, uh, I lost the hunger after, I would say, somewhere in my early teens. Uh, you just get into the everyday life of being a young adult, a very, very young adult. And you get a lot of distractions. I'll say that I hardly even read the Bible after about 9 or 10 years old, because from 8 to 10, if you would have shoved me into the Bible, I would have eat, sleep, and breathed it. That's just my type of focus. And I wasn't. I don't know why that happened, why, it didn't go that way, but it didn't. And so, um, it led me to a life of distraction because I didn't have anything to focus on. Because I literally, you tell me to go do a job, I go do that job. Now, if you tell me to do it a specific way, I'll hit the numbers. I'll do it exactly how you want it, regardless if it's right or wrong. You say, do this job, that's how the job gets done. That's how my focus is. And so in my early 20s, I tried to I didn't like run away from the Lord, but at that time I wasn't pursuing the Lord. So when I got in my early 20s, my stepdad had passed away. He was an amazing preacher, and he passed away. There's a fly in here. And so then I was struggling a lot, trying to find my way to the Lord. And went to some I guess, Christian classes, and, tried to get some education in the Lord. And, you know, it was interesting. It opened my eyes up to a lot of things, how people saw things. As I grew up, to mention my stepdad again, as I grew up and my stepdad was preaching, it seemed like he was a very holy and righteous man. And so whatever he said to me was Bible. He didn't have to open the Bible. Whatever he said, that's how my belief system was set up. Is I believed whatever he said. Um, he passed away, and then I started to look at when I was 18. He passed away, and I started to look at things a little different, not completely different from how he said things, but I looked at things through my own eyes. I didn't just accept what he said. He wasn't here anymore. And so then I was like, okay, um, I'm gonna have to do this on my own here. Go on, fly. Stinking fly. um, Disturbing videos. Even when I was doing model car stuff, I was in the garage. I was like, oh, bugs, flies, and gnats and stuff. Anyway, see, it's messing up my focus.